Salt movie explained. In 2003, Evelyn Salt, Angelina Jolie, is tortured through North Korean infantrymen who accuse her of espionage. She is soon traded for a North Korean prisoner and escorted to safety by means of her boss Ted Winter, Liev Schreiber. Whilst strolling in the direction of the border, she asks why she changed into let out, and it is explained that her boyfriend Mike, visible watching her from the opposite side of the border, became petitioning anyone within the government for her to be let out. Accordingly, so as for them to prevent him from stirring up more unneeded publicity, they agreed to make an alternate. Within the modern, Salt is watching her now husband Mike running on the breakfast table with spiders. He is an arachnologist, that means he researches spiders for a living. After he notices her status there, he says satisfied anniversary. She offers to prepare dinner and breakfast, however he passes, mocking her cooking. The scene then cuts to her at paintings, studying online the way to fold a serviette into a certain pattern in order that the anniversary dinner she has planned is perfect. Wintry weather interrupts, they chat for some time after which get prepared to head out as it's near the end of the workday. As they're leaving, every other agent chases them and finally tells them that a defector has are available in and wishes to present them records. Wanting to see if the Russian has any beneficial statistics, Salt and Wintry weather head back upstairs. Neural scans are installation so one can determine if the defector is lying, and Salt enters the room and starts the interview. The defector begins via announcing that his name is Orlov and proceeds by means of telling her a tale about a Russian espionage software set up in the course of the bloodless conflict wherein kids of Yank households were kidnapped then replaced with Russian youngsters that had been trained to be sleeper cell spies through a Russian legit in hopes of restoring Russia's dominance someday. Those dealers are referred to as OK-12s and are supposedly a fantasy. They could expect the child's identity until day X, the undisclosed date of motion wherein they would strike. Day X is apparently coming, and its activities will reputedly start with the murder of the Russian president on the U.S. vice president's funeral the next day in New York and will end with the U.S. president's assassination an afternoon later. Wintry weather tells her to wrap up the interview, as they do no longer consider him. As she is leaving, he explains that the agent on the way to homicide the president is Evelyn Salt. Salt leaves the room and is visibly upset. As she walks into the viewing room wherein her colleagues are, it's Miles determined through the neural test that he changed into being trustworthy throughout the interview. She begins speaking to the counterintelligence officer named Peabody in iciness, claiming her innocence. Wintry weather is believing her and starts off evolved speak to Peabody approximately a way to continue. Orlov is escorted out by way of marketers and goes into an elevator with them. Salt is given her phone for you to contact Mike as, when the duvet of an agent is blown, often their entire faux existence is in danger. She is told to wait within the interrogation room while they try and determine out how to continue. As she watches Winter and Peabody argue, she realizes that she is in threat. Cut to Orlov inside the elevator. A blade comes out of his shoe, and he proceeds to kill both guards with him and break out. Winters and Peabody are alerted to Orlov's escape, giving Salt the possibility to get away the room and attempt to get out of the building. As the security of the constructing starts off evolve to tighten, she reveals herself cornered within the interrogation room once more in which she rigs up an explosive tool to fire on the SWAT team. She fires it, knocking them unconscious and is capable of thieving a gun inside the process. She then makes use of the gun to interrupt a window and proceeds to climb onto the roof then onto the road. She receives into a taxi, attempts to call Mike again and hangs up after once more getting their apartment's voicemail. She breaks her SIM card and then receives out of the taxi cab at her condo constructing. As she walks in, she notices Mike's chair has been knocked over and how his sandwich is half eaten. There has manifestly been a battle, and he has been abducted. As Salt packs her bag and takes a number of Mike's spiders, Winters and Peabody are assembling a SWAT team to go to her condo to look if she is there. They arrive simply as she is climbing out of her window. She narrowly escapes and climbs into a neighbor's condominium. As she speaks to the child inside the rental and modifications her clothes, she flashes back once more to her husband and parts of their lives together. She escapes and even as walking far away from the building, is spotted by using Winter. Another chase ensues, and Salt is cornered when she then jumps onto a semi-truck passing below the overpass that she is on. The sellers observe her and shoot as she jumps from one truck to any other then ultimately lands on the floor. She then steals a motorbike and manages to outmaneuver them and escape. At this point, Salt heads to a bar. At the same time as within the toilet, she steals the code and identity of a fellow consumer, takes a bus to the Big Apple City. Upon arrival, Salt makes use of the stolen ID to rent a small resort room. There, she dyes her hair and steals clothes. She then begins to plan out the way to get into the cathedral and prints a subway map. At this point, some other flashback indicates us that Evelyn Salt is certainly a Russian implant secret agent. She became born and grew up in Russia and was taken in at a young age with a set of other younger boys to end up sleeper spies as a part of the OK-12 organization. They have been taught to speak English at a younger age as well as learn the society and methods, customs and legal guidelines of the USA. The next day, she forms a subway train and plants a smoke device. Even as every person is distracted, she gets off the educate and into the tunnels under the cathedral. As she receives into function in the crypt, the funeral starts taking region in the church. Because the Russian president gets up to deliver a speech, Salt throws an explosive device onto the roof, that is without delay beneath in which the president is status, and the floor crumbles under him, causing him to fall into the crypt beside her. Panic ensues and she or he presumably shoots the Russian president. Peabody comes in, and she surrenders in spite of having the opportunity to shoot him. As she is taken away, Isina screams that he hopes she rots in jail for what she has finished. She is placed into an SUV and is transported in a caravan via the metropolis. She then manages to eject both of her guards from the automobile and stun the driver, inflicting him to wreck the police cars beforehand of and at the back of them. To escape, the opposite police now swarming round her, she drives the SUV over the guardrail and into the road underneath, wrecking the auto. As the public come to peer if everyone interior is all proper, Salt escapes. The news is, at this factor, protecting the dying of the Russian president and the riots which can be now taking place throughout Moscow. Salt is then visible on a ferry boat and heads to a scrap steel yard. There, she meets with Orlov and embraces him. It's far found out that he is the man who took her in and educated her to come to be a Russian spy. She is then taken to a deliver within the Hudson that serves because the Russian spy's home base. There, she is advised that the subsequent step in their plan is to seize nuclear guns and begin a massive-scale conflict among Russia and the US to smash the arena. After being taken into the hall of the deliver, she sees Mike being held hostage. To peer whether or not or no longer she is unswerving, Orlov shoots him dead and watches her reaction. When she fails to react, he introduces her to her fellow brother spies and then escorts her into his workplace to disclose extra information about the plan. Once listening to that she is to fulfill with a secret agent disguised as a NATO officer the subsequent morning and tour with him to Washington, D.C., Salt pours them each a drink after which she all of a sudden smashes the wine bottle and rams it into Orlov's neck. Salt then makes use of a grenade to kill all the Russian sleeper retailers at the boat. Afterwards, Salt leaves the boat and is going to the rendezvous point to fulfill together with her touch NATO officer. After he arrives and forms the plane, she recognizes him as certainly one of her fellow classmates and flashes return to more of her secret agent training as a toddler within the former United States. They communicate about their lives and their youth. It is discovered that Salt was the high quality in her magnificence and how she will be able to finish first on this plan as properly. He famous that the plan may be to kill the USA president while he is in his protection bunker on the White House. Upon their arrival in Washington, he offers her a new ID and is disguised as a fellow NATO officer. After stepping into the White Residence, he famous that he goes to sacrifice himself via threatening the president by way of blowing himself up as a suicide bomber so that he'll flee to the bunker wherein Salt is to kill him. Wintry weather is many of the institution of men across the president and fleeing with them to the bunker. As they all get into the elevator to move down to the bunker, Salt is above them, jumping from ground to ground inside the elevator shaft framework. Once on the bunker's degree, she proceeds to disable the guards out of doors and pass effectively into the bunker earlier than the door is securely closed. Within the bunker, the president is elevating the fear alert inside the USA to DEFCON 2 as Russia is outwardly deploying their nuclear weapons in retaliation for what they see as an act of battle, the killing of their president with the aid of a CIA agent. After the extent is raised and the president is given full authority to release the United States missiles, Wintry weather sees Salt drawing close on CCTV and demands that the agents arm themselves. Suddenly, He grabs a gun, kills all those in the room. Subsequently, it is simply him and the president. In this out-of-the-blue twist, Ted Winter is every other Russian secret agent just like Evelyn Salt. After telling the president to set off strategic nuclear deployment techniques and being denied, he hits the president and knocks him subconscious. Salt has witnessed all of this. She techniques the bulletproof window and beckons Icinus to use the president's hand to reauthorize and prompt the strategic strike on Mecca and Tehran. She starts talking to him through the glass, appealing to him by asking why he in no way informed her that he too was a secret agent. She begs him to allow her be a part of him, and in the end he relents. As Winter is popping to visit the door to allow her in, the information flashes on the TV, announcing that the Russian president isn't lifeless as formerly idea and had merely been given a paralytic. Knowing that Salt used venom from Mike's spiders in order that it seemed that she had killed him, Wintryweather says that he didn't believe her after she got here lower back from North Korea. He knew from the start that she had fallen for Mike and was now not the equal character that she have been. That changed into why Ted Icinus informed Orlov to kidnap and kill Mike, as well as why she become being made into the patsy and why Wintryweather might be visible because the hero. Salt is enraged at this factor and attempts to fireplace her gun through the glass. While this fails, she sees the access container subsequent to the door on the opposite side of the room. She goes to it on the opposite facet, firing her gun at it until the wall at the back of it is uncovered. She then rewires the box so that she can get into the bunker convention room. Inside the room, Salt and Winters fight. The activation of the weapons is sort of complete, however at the remaining minute, the name of the game provider arrives and overpowers them. In place of giving herself up, Salt jumps to tug the plug at the laptop, cancelling the weapon strike activation and is shot inside the technique. Both she and Wintryweather are escorted out, and as she is sporting a vest, Salt is unharmed. As she is being led up from the bunker as a prisoner, she sees Wintryweather getting his wounds dealt with next to the steps. She jumps closer to him, wrapping her handcuffs around his neck and jumping over the balcony to strangle him. By the point she is pulled up, he's lifeless after neck has been broken and she is acceded over to Peabody. They board a helicopter, and he asks her why she killed Icinus. Her respond is someone needed to. She then explains her aspect of the tale, and Peabody begins to trust her but points out that no one else will. She says that there are more Russian sleeper spies obtainable in an effort to stop at nothing to intrude. She convinces him to permit her pass as they have taken everything from her and she will stop at not anything till all of the spies of OK-12 are dead. He then undoes her cuffs and she or he jumps from the chopper, escaping into the Potomac River. Directors reduce, as she reaches land and is walking away. A news file voiceover states that the brand new president, Stevens, paused to lay plant life for a plane crash in 1974, killing his parents and sister, even as in an excursion of Russia.